You know, they put me out in 2010, so I'm a little leery.
Let me take the roll call here. Traherne Cruz,
Present.
Julia Pringle,
Present.
Beth. Laderne, Jeremy English,
Here.
Nyla Golden,
Present.
Idmont Ibrahim. Nick Khalik,
Present.
Ray McCoy. Nick Mohammed,
Present.
Jamila Pickett. She said she's gonna be absent, correct? And Carl Robinson. Went to the bathroom.
Yeah.
First with you.
Carl is present. Here we have a quorum.
Thank you, Veronica. Commissioner English will read the labor acknowledgement.
The labor acknowledgement. We acknowledge that much of America, including its culture, economic growth, and development, has been made possible by the forced free labor of enslaved Africans and their descendants who suffered the horror of the transatlantic slave trade, chattel slavery, Jim Crow segregation, and acts of racism, all culminating in modern-day disparities. We pay homage to these ancestors and ask that they guide the efforts of the Reparations Commission to correct these wrongs for those who are living and those who are yet born.
Thank you, Commissioner English. Our next order of business, we will have a discussion about our glossary with Nancy Dunn.
So Traherne called me this morning. Do you want me up here or where do you want me? Okay. This is gonna be pretty informal and short, but,
You can, is she the podium?
No, because they're right here.
so is it okay if I stand here?
Yeah, but we're a little bit out of order. We gotta do the minutes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. See for this minute. Thanks.
Sorry, Lisa.
I move to approve the minutes for August. Last month's meeting. In August.
Second,
Meeting approved.
you have to vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then I think, is there a motion to approve the minutes for March?
A motion to approve the minutes for March.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, but we're just approving the minutes that we didn't approve earlier. We approved July.
Okay, and then I move that we approve the minutes from April 22nd, 2024.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Pretty much April.
May. Yes.
I move that we approve the minutes from May 2024.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And now we will have a guest presentation from Nancy Dunn.
You know, the guest speaker, but anyway, Traherne called me this morning to ask if I could share about what I've been doing with quote, the glossary. So all I can say is that, you know, I've been attending these meetings each time and I know there's been an interest in collecting the glossary and I talked to Seth and Traherne and Jamila, who are part of the committee, kind of working on that. So had sent some things to them. The main thing, well, first of all, I probably should introduce myself. Nancy Dunleavy, you've been seeing me here. I'm a citizen of St. Paul my entire life, very supportive. And also I'm a librarian and I'm also retired. So I'm willing to support in whatever way that would be useful to any of you. So I kind of have my ears open to listen to what that might be. it's always good to not reinvent the wheel, and especially none of you are getting paid for any of the work you're doing outside of these meetings. And so, let's not reinvent the wheel. So I was looking, are there some good glossaries? I figured a lot of the other Reparation Commission reports had looked at different things. The best thing I found, and I only have 6 copies, I can pass out, almost everybody. But this is from Movement for Black Lives, M4BL, and they have what they call a Reparations Now Toolkit. And it's 100 and some pages long. So these are just some of the pages, but what I cut out here are the pages that include terminology. And so, mine, for instance, just very simple definitions: transatlantic slave trade, chattel slavery, redlining. What is prison industrial complex abolition? What is restitution? What are the United Nations 5 conditions that must be met? So I thought it's a really good resource to start, for the beginning of your glossary. I don't need to say more about it than that. I can certainly send this electronically to anyone who didn't already get it from me and who would like it. But I think that's a good resource. The other thing I know, at one point, someone was asking about what is the difference between a city ordinance versus a city resolution. That seems like an important thing for you to do. So I put together a document that has kind of the general definition and then specific to St. Paul. That's kind of glossary, I guess you could say. And so really that's what I've done with glossary. I mean, I wanted to start some things, send it to the committee that's working on these things, and then get some feedback if they want me to do more. So besides the glossary, I'll tell you the other things. During the reparations committee work, which was the precursor of this, I think the St. Paul Public Library put together a reparations resource list. It's about 40 pages long. It looks impressive, but it's not necessarily helpful. And my main thing about it is it's not sortable. And so I think it should be sortable at least by year. And the year column right now, it might say April 4th, 1947. It should be sortable with the year should be first, of course, right? So that we can actually sort it. So most current on top, because some of the things are really old. There was a new column added with type of material. Like, is it a video? Is it a report? Is it just an article? Is it a full book? I mean, that's helpful also to be able to sort it maybe that way. And I think having another column added, is it just for St. Paul? Is it all of Minnesota? Is the metro area? Is it global? Is it US? Is it a region of the US? Again, that would be helpful. So right now, that report is findable on the internet, but it's not connected to your Reparations Commission page. So it's kind of like disappeared. If you think it's useful to the community or to you, then I know the woman, her name was Marcia Mormond, who was part of the city of St. Paul and who was sort of coordinating that. And I had gotten from her the original Excel document. So I can talk to her. I just don't want to do anything that you don't all approve of, that you're not all suggesting, yeah, that's a good idea, let me pursue it. But I'm happy to do that, to talk to her, to have it sortable and to add some columns and things like that, if you want it. Or maybe it's just a nice idea, but isn't useful. My biggest suggestion is that we have, say, a 2 or 3 page reference sheet that's going to be great to share with the public. Just like what are reparations and some of the best, and I would say more current books and articles. And also some links to statistics that start showing the racial wealth gap and such. So if you think that's useful, I'm happy to start working on something like that. The other thing that might be useful that I had shared with this subcommittee was a frequently asked questions document. So the California Reparations Commission finished they put together their final report last June, I think it was. And it has a whole section with questions. I know
Frequently asked questions?
yeah, with not only the question, but with their suggested answers. Yes, I've got that in here somewhere, I think. That here, California. Yeah, questions such as California was a free state, not a slave state. Why should it be responsible for reparations at all? Right? The United Nations is a nation of self-made success in which lots of people have suffered harms but have not looked to the government to solve their problems. Why should the government step in here to address these issues? Some of the questions are a little offensive, I'd have to say, but they may be questions that we get. So that's one source. There's another book which I actually donated to all of you called From Here to Equality by William Darity and his wife. And there's a whole critique, criticisms and responses section in there also. So those are great places to start. And then one thing you might not know is that when there was a hearing, December 22nd, 2021, to approve the commission, right? Wasn't that it? To approve what the committee had recommended? So you had your hearing in a big snowstorm or something in the middle of winter, right?
It was.
And, and some people
Driving
came
down
and everybody
through,
was
yeah.
very positive.
Yeah.
But what you might not know is that online people had submitted comments and some weren't so positive. And so I collected those in a document that's here too. I mean, those would be worth looking at, and then being ready to respond to.
Mhm.
So again, please let me know what of all I'm saying interests you in me doing some groundwork that I could give to any of your committees. As far as the public education committee, I mean, there's things we should be ready for, and we won't be ready in a month. It'll take some time.
Okay.
So, I think those were the main things I wanted to say. Oh,
And then you have to wrap it up, Nancy.
pardon?
You gotta have you wrap it up.
Yes, okay. I didn't have time to make some copies of other things, but I've been sending some various documents, things that are interesting. So I can make copies for these meetings to have here if that's useful.
Yeah, I would say if you could just send all that material to me,
Yep.
right, because whatever we put out
And
in
then you
public,
can
I have to,
Okay.
make sure
Thank you
it's
so much.
available.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our next order of business is.
Can I say something or no? Okay, so a lot of that information I think is great. My concern is that, it can inform what we do, but it also can get us kind of off, for me anyways, off on the rabbit trail. When she talked about sorting things on a spreadsheet, I was like, yes, let's add 4 more columns and, right? And that's not kind of what we're supposed to do. So that's, yes,
St. Paul resource page, and that's what she's talking about, sorting. So that's already happened
okay.
before the,
No.
this event happened.
No, I
And so
know.
She's just talking about
Yeah.
sorting that site and then connecting it to what we already have.
I understand that, but so. Okay, but what I'm saying is that creating all of the different things and making them more user friendly could be a task in and of itself, even though she's offered to do that.
Mhm.
But we need to check it to see that it is actually where we want it to be and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't want to become another, that's just,
Yeah, let me address that. So her particular subject matter was, essentially a part of the mini work plan that Seth was, a part of, looking at the glossary and
okay,
timeline, archival work and all that stuff. But, that's something still, that we can, or at least that particular team could kind of feather out a lot more
Okay.
in detail and, present some specifics before us, because some of this work may take, having volunteers like Nancy to actually dig in and do the
Right.
details once we approve what it is, we're okay with them doing. Others may be a team, like some students, or it could be, a consulting group or a consultant. So, don't necessarily feel like, oh, this could be really overwhelming. It's not that we would be doing that work. We would just be approving, generally what should be the
Mhm.
overarching content, and whatever it is that group of students, that volunteer, that consultant would bring, we would have to approve and finalize. So we will have a process, to make everything official. Does that kind of help give
Yeah,
you?
as long, I guess,
And
for me, I guess, as long as there's kind of a point person, and so there's a group, work group that's doing that, so
And,
I'm cool.
that's, Joseph. It's,
Yeah.
and Jamila, but they're both not here today. Our next order of business is team report backs on draft work plan homework assignments. And who would like to go first?
I'll go.
Okay.
You got everything ready?
And what is your committee, Commissioner? English?
Our committee was the Harm Report Committee.
Report, okay.
Okay, let me pull yours up, and get that on the monitor.
Okay, somebody gotta get it over with first. Somebody gotta get it over with first. No, say the best go first. Going back.
Oh, is that? That's the last.
All right, Commissioner English.
I gotta pull up my laptop. I wanna be able to see that. That's too little time.
78%, that's over.
There you go.
Just tell me where you want me to.
Yeah, let me just go ahead and pull it up.
It'd be Monday.
I mean, you can have it up there on the screen, you know, for,
Yeah, so we can see.
yeah, for reference. Real quick.
Can you make it, can you guys see it okay? No, we need it a little bit bigger for the
Okay, listening.
people in the.
And just for, reference, in regards to talking about the harm report, um, I want to first talk about the establishment of the work plan. So, the subcommittee was tasked with, it says, develop a harm report to establish a narrative and a starting point for redress. And real quick, I just want to add in, just the bylaw piece would be, shall develop time-based evaluations of city expenditures using quality of life metrics as indicators on progress of reparations. Serve as an expert for reparations policies and actions within the city. So basically, that's what we're, just in a nutshell, kind of tasked to do. And I want to kind of build a little bit build on some of the stuff that we came up with.
We got 10 minutes.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna keep time.
I had to make sure I could see something. I had to make sure I could see something real quick. So.
To
Okay.
your report, we're not going into detail. If you want to look at the work plan, I'm sure Veronica will share and we all have access to that, but just the general presentation of the work plan.
Okay, so I got it pulled up real quick. Basically what we talked about was, taking a look at, all City of St. Paul departments, complete a report on how the City of St. Paul has harmed and ongoing harms to American descendants of chattel slavery within all city departments. We also talked about, a complete historical narrative on American descendants of chattel slavery. They're going to be conducting research at the city, state, and federal level. Veronica kind of talked about this a little bit. We're looking at researchers when it comes down to students, contributors, colleges, universities, national reparations commissions, the City of St. Paul staff, the Council for Minnesota of African Heritage. And just to go on with the briefing, we're also going to be working with other committees, other subcommittees, such as the archival, the listening, and the slavery disclosure committees to allow process for the community and other entities to be involved with the report. So I just wanted to give a briefing on, just some of the goals of the subcommittee, and then I can talk a little bit about some of our strategies. We're taking a look at connecting with all City of St. Paul departments about disparities that impact American descendants of chattel slavery within all city departments. We talked about supplying data, evidence data, statistical evidence, and other forms of proof to support American descendants of chattel slavery's reparations claims. And how much do I use?
We got about a minute.
Okay.
You got it.
So, I mean, in closing, I mean, we had an excellent bill within the subcommittee. And we moved forward in regards to, do we need to talk about funding or?
No.
Right. Well, I mean, we moved forward with some of this stuff being short-term priority and some of this stuff being mid-term priority.
Thank you, Commissioner English.
Who would like to present next?
I guess I can. There's not that many of them.
Yeah.
Okay, we consider creating a facility inside.
So I have my committee has two different things, so we can start with the, Reparatory Justice Fund. I sent you an email. It had a link to a folder that had the stuff in it. So,
All right, well, go ahead, I'll see if I can find it.
I actually, okay, so we met and our main goal is to establish a resolution to create a reparatory justice fund to support funding our reparations in St. Paul. And it'll primarily be supported by the committee, which is myself, Chern, and Commissioner Pringle. The tactics that we talked about were referring and using the United Nations guidance on reparatory justice funds to create the resolution. And then we need to work with Council Member Anika Bowie to finalize the resolution and to get it voted on by the City Council. We'll present that to the City Council for voting and review. We will establish a fund with the City of St. Paul with perhaps a black bank. There will be, the committee will identify where the dollars from the fund will be sourced. We'll meet and share best practices with other cities that have established like funds. We will make recommendations on how the fund will be used, or criteria for participation, and how funds will be distributed. And we will meet with public for engagement on those same criteria. And we'll work with others to research how to best utilize the fund to build generational wealth in the Black community of St. Paul. So most of these items are short-term. They need to be done relatively quickly because you need to establish the fund. So as we start getting money coming in, we'll have a place to put it. And that's primarily it. We set aside some dollars, not excessive, because most of this work we'll have to do ourselves. We'll do a lot of it ourselves. So that's that fund. And then the other one, give me a second, I gotta go to the other one was the slavery disclosure ordinance. And so for that one, we will need to create a resolution for the slavery disclosure ordinance and get the resolution passed with the St. Paul City Council. Again, the main team will be that same subcommittee of myself, Commissioner Cruz, and Commissioner Pringle. We will create an ordinance and consult with others to establish clear guidelines of what constitutes proper disclosure. We'll work with the city council and the city attorney for consultation on and alignment on the ordinance. We'll review other disclosure ordinances for best practices. The committee will research. The committee will do research and support of creating the ordinance. We will consult with others to aid the creation of the ordinance, like other groups that have created ordinances, colleges and universities, reparations subject matter experts. We'll plan for a hearing to support the passing of the ordinance. And we'll create a fact sheet that we can use to gain support from the general public. We will communicate progress to the public. And we will, once we've created the ordinance, it will be presented to the city council. And the hopes that a resolution will be voted on and passed. And then we'll work with partnership with the city procurement department to execute the disclosure ordinance to identify businesses that have contracts with the city of St. Paul. Again, this is gonna be a lot of short-term work. There will be things that may be ongoing as we think about who comes in and does different work with the city of St. Paul, because it'll kind of be an ongoing thing once you create the criteria for disclosure. So, we made great progress.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
You send me. Okay.
Engagement?
I sent that email to you last night at about 11:27.
That's it?
That's it. Okay, so this is the community engagement, work group. Basically, what our goal is to connect with the community, get the feedback as far as what they think reparations is, how they feel about that, what are some of the themes, to just really have a better understanding of what they understand reparations to be. So we want to be able to paint a picture for our, report that we provide as far as what we're finding out in the community. Those listening sessions will happen in each ward. We will ask each of the city council members for those wards to facilitate those listening sessions. And again, we will, basically, that's it. That's kind of the overall picture. We're gonna create a marketing plan. We have a marketing plan in order to create some more awareness as relates to it. We have a planning component that we will engage in between basically now October and the end of the year to kind of get prepared to do all that. We have a plan for our start date of, we're trying to get our first listening session, if not sooner, no later than Black History Month. That would be kind of our kickoff and launch. And to create that visibility of who we are, what we're about, so that people can talk about that. And in our budget, we want to use some of our dollars to build relationships and subcontractor with individuals who are in those wards, to be able to do some of the work for us. And again, having equipment like this owl here so we can record the sessions that are going on, contingent on where they are located, so that we can have our best turnout facilities that work for that. Okay, I left out a couple of things, I'm sure. I'm just basically looking for the common issues that come up across the wards or even what's specific to those districts. And wards. That's kind of it. Did I leave out anything?
No. Thank you.
You guys are lucky. I'm not usually that good.
And then archival, you said the lead is not here, right?
Right. So, yeah, but we did,
Which group is this one? Sorry. The archival?
archival timeline. And so we did, Joseph,
Oh, okay. And Jamil.
yeah, but Jameel's part of it. They're both out.
Yes.
And so he talked about, that we kind of what Nancy was just presenting on was creating a glossary, so we already had a glossary. And then, they took it down, but it's just like, kind of like how this would look. And so we were talking about maybe having something where like hyperlinks that you can click on and do things like that. There's already a lot of databases through like colleges, universities that we might be able to integrate into this. So that was just the glossary part. Then there was also like a archive component that we've been talking about. And this is because places like Evanston and Asheville are also doing this. And they talk about archivists becoming like reparations activists, or archives can be used as evidence as, you know, what the harm that happened to somebody or somebody existed. Someone was at a certain place at a certain time. So that's why that archival piece is important. So we talked about, so those are some of the things that we talked about. I wish Joseph was here because he did a real thorough job of going through the boxes and spent a lot of time.
Thank you. And then the budget committee, which is my lead and Traherne, we got all of the budgets from all of you all. Traherne put together a mass or a composite budget, and then, so we haven't met about that because he just did it today, so. Okay, truth be told. So I would, send an email out of the composite budget, it equals to 500,000 that we asked for. So, yeah. We'll get that out to Veronica for her to, tell us what else we need to do to move the, process forward.
Any questions, comments about any of the reports that you heard?
I got that, yeah. We got one more that we did work on. Unfortunately, yeah, Ray McCoy got COVID.
Oh.
So, he asked me to kind of take over the lead of the legal subcommittee. So I can kind of give you a quick briefing on that. Ray did send me an email kind of about some questions that he had that could come up, you know, that the, subcommittee could build on. So for example, he talked about, we talked about, for example, an American descendant of chattel slavery, repertory justice center, justice corner. We talked about, reparations legal consultants. We talked about an ordinance review. So, some of the goals that we discussed were, discover what legal arguments there are for and against reparations. Get legal consultants to look at the ordinance and let me just see. Getting legal consultants to look at their ordinance and develop recommendations as needed if necessary. We also talked about working with Black lawyers in St. Paul.
Excuse me, have lawyers look at our recommendations as to be.
Yes, yes, yes. And again, that's just some of the goals that we kind of just threw together. We also talked about a little bit of strategy to connect with those goals. So real quick, one of them would be connect with Black law students from different universities to look at legal reparations arguments. Some of the tactics that we talked about, we're looking at the UN reparations process, allowing for legal consultants to bid on the work plan activity. So I know Ray had a certain dollar amount. I want to say it was like, he already knows the number. But most of this stuff was kind of midterm priority just because of the legal process of what is gonna be needed for some of this work at plan activity. So I just wanted to give everybody an update that we were moving forward on that subcommittee. But Ray got COVID, so we kind of just put together, a work plan. You know, I wish he was here, so he could kind of, elaborate on it, you know what I mean? But we did put together a work plan for, for that legal subcommittee.
Okay, and you'll be sending that to.
Yeah, I already sent it to you.
Oh, did you?
Yes, yep, I CC Trey on it, but I sent it to you already.
So with, the listening session and the harm session, and I think even with the, some of, with the listening session, harm session, and slavery disclosure act, there's probably gonna need to be RFPs or request for proposals to do the research, to who would do community engagement, and things like that. And so those are certain things you might want to think about, like who do we think should do the research? Not questions we need to answer right now, but just start thinking about like who locally that we want to do something like this, who has ever done something like this, that we can talk to, and just start compiling names. And once we pull it in the RFP, I think we'll have to create like a scope of work. And so, those are some of the things I think we should be thinking about. So, pretty rapidly.
And then I just want to add, the legal question, it is midterm, but I feel like we might need to like revisit like where it actually goes, because in the harm report, we're gonna have to have some legal look at it. For the slavery disclosure, we have to have some legal look at it. For the repertoire justice fund, we're gonna have to have some legal look at it. So I feel like the legal question is built into those committees. And maybe those questions are just like you and Ray already in those committees, so we just merge, you know what I mean? So we're not having a separate committee. We're just
Exactly.
making sure that we're bringing up the legal question within one of every part of the work that we do. Mhm.
Any more thoughts, questions? Okay. Thank you everyone for your work, and the sharing that you did tonight. I thought that this came together really great. Everybody, put a lot of good work in. I think this is something we can move on. Veronica, can you share the next steps?
Okay, so what I will do, because we have to get this final work plan to the council president by the end of October. So I'll consolidate everyone's information into a larger work plan and bring that to the next meeting. But with that, we still may have to finalize, kind of ideally what we really think we can accomplish in 2025. Because I know everybody may think, I think this should be done tomorrow. But realistically, we just don't have that capacity. So we may have to kind of grapple by the next meeting, what we think is really plausible in 2025. That's what the council president really has on her mind initially. And then still some of the other components, it's not that they can't get done, but we might have to realize that, maybe that's the second year, or maybe that's a third and fourth year, or maybe, some of that work could be done now, but it might be something that'll stretch into a 2-year time frame. So I think once we I consolidate all this information, it may help us, see it all collectively instead of in the parts that you individually have worked on. And we can make that determination and finalize the document. And from there, I'll give it to, our city council team that we primarily, myself and Sharon's been meeting with. That's Councilmember Johnson, Council President, Jalali, and, Councilmember Bowie. And, they'll have to kind of mull that over amongst themselves, maybe get an idea of, what they think of our ideas are good. What, might be some things they may want to, consider, a lot more strongly. And then, what what gets adopted into the city council's budget, or considered for the city council budget, still would have to be negotiated even with the mayor. But the final analysis is by the early part of December, the city's budget would be finalized. And so we're just kind of coming in at the tail end of that process. When it comes to next year, I think Jay was telling us that, we want to be earlier in the hopper around July. So keep in mind that we may, we'll be revisiting our work plan, looking at what might be working for us, what might not be, and all we can do from there is maybe adjust what we currently have or what we're currently working with. So hopefully by next year, this will be a bit, not so brand new of a process for us to go through.
Thanks, Veronica. Now our final order of business is to reflect on the next meeting. Are there any suggestions for what you would like to see on the next future meeting agenda?
Can we get that genealogist in here? Can we get that genealogist?
You're welcome. Veronica and I will take,
I'm sorry, I didn't have two things. I have two things. One is I may be sending out a doodle poll, to do some headshots of all the commissioners. One of our meetings with the council members, suggested to, actually have some photos of you guys that we can put on our website. And so I'll just align the two. And, we do have a tech and communication department who can do that. But I'm trying to figure out, and I'm still kind of in communication with them to see if you can kind of book your own time to do your headshot, which would be in the basement of City Hall. Or if it's something to where maybe they could come out to our meeting and just kind of do everyone at one time. So just FYI on that. And then secondly, it was originally myself and Traherne, but it looks like, I'll be going off to one of the national conferences, the Reparations Conference. I think I had passed that information out in one of the informations, but it's the American Descendant, ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery Summit. And let me see if I can even pull it up. I think I still have it on my. And I'm hoping to go there and connect with some folks. Traherne's organization, Black Lives Matter, had them as a presenter at one of their events. And they have a conference every so many years, I believe. But I'm hoping I can make some good connections there. And this is in New Orleans. And, they have some pretty nice, speakers. Yeah.
And Mark.
And so maybe too, that, some of these folks we can even have as presenters too before, our meeting. But look back in your, one of the emails in which I sent it a link referencing this conference, and you can kind of see the details of it. But I'll be sharing some information, at the next meeting on this.
I just want to reiterate at the end that I'm really proud that you guys were able to break down in the groups and get all this done in such a short amount of time. And I think sometimes things look like we can't get them done, but I think we have a witty and intelligent group that can accomplish a lot. So I'm really excited about the work ahead.
I motion to adjourn.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Hey! Threw me off.
Thank you, thank you.
Huh?
Threw me off.
What's that?
Minute bad.
I feel bad.
Evening.
I read all the emails. I know in the conference.
I'm like.
That's what in the conference.
God.
Oh, you're gonna stop the meeting.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah. Oh,
32 10.
And I was actually trying to get a.
I'm sick.
Oh,